As we round off 2024, I thought it'd be interesting to do another Ramble video. I went over what it was like working at Meta in 2024 in a previous video, but that's not entirely reflective of my own situation. Some people have been asking for more of these Ramble style videos, and I'm here to oblige the request. So the title of this video is something along the lines of a fork in the road, and here's what I mean by that. I've come to realize that my time at Meta, and I suppose at big tech in general, is probably limited. Now, I don't want to make it seem like I'm going to quit any day now, quite the opposite. As a matter of fact, I anticipate to stay in my current role about 5 years, at least. These thoughts in my head are more for long-term strategy as opposed to short-term moves. Now, why do I say all of this? Why, after reaching what so many people would consider the promised land, would I voluntarily walk away from all of it? When the stock is so high and life is seemingly so good, why would I want to give it all up? And what for? Well, let's start with the first point. As a start, it's become very obvious to me that should I wish to progress in my career, then the focus of my work will shift away from writing code and building things to more strategic and managerial responsibilities. I really despise office politics and all the snakes that you have to deal with, constantly looking over your shoulder and wondering who of the people around you is going to stab you in the back. This, coupled with the push to always be focusing on impact and dressing up your achievements for performance reviews, make it seem like those that can shout the loudest about their work, about how important it is, and have just kissed enough senior management ass to be recognized, they're the ones that tend to advance the quickest. It's just an unfortunate reality that after a certain point, you start to move away from being hands-on and you start to work at a higher level of scope. Now, I'm not going to try and fight the system. It is what it is. There's only so much you can do on your own, and as you level up, the expectation is that you begin to scale yourself in terms of impact. As they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But I'm an engineer at heart, and I still deeply enjoy spending all day in VS Code building away. Trading some of that away in exchange for dealing with petty politics and ass-kissing is not something I want to deal with at the moment. Maybe one day my desire to code will fade away, but for now that fire still burns hot. Now, the first point lays a bit of the foundation of my thinking, but it doesn't explain everything fully, so let's move on to my second point. I think one of the things that's the crux of this internal crisis that I'm facing is that if anyone's ever watched one of those Why I'll Never Work at FANG or the pros and cons of FANG videos, then there's definitely a downside to working at big tech when it comes to learning. Each company's needs are so bespoke that a lot of the solutions and technologies that they don't really align with the outside world. That, coupled with the fact that there's a lot of behind the scenes work that is just abstracted away from you in order to make you more efficient and faster. The longer you stay at FANG, whether it be at a singular company or you hop around between the big players, the more you're going to overfit your knowledge. Everything you know starts to be particular to that company and how it does things. And eventually it becomes the only thing that you know. Now, it's fine if you spend your entire career at one company, but when the day comes that you need to leave, or worse, you're laid off, then there's a massive skills gap that exists. Sure, you can jump to another big company where, again, they have the tools and the infra that you are needing, but you're just kicking the can down the road. Trying to jump to a startup or a smaller company that doesn't have these abstractions in place will be difficult. How do you properly deploy the code? I have no idea. The system kind of just did it for us. How do you deploy a new service? I'm not sure. I just ticked a few boxes and it would start. One can easily see how overcoming being over-reliant on the technology at a particular company can harm you in the end. Eventually, all you know is that one way's company of doing things, and you are left with little transferable skills. Of course, you're still a software engineer and you still have the mental capacity to learn and adapt, but you put yourself at a disadvantage, and the more entrenched you are, the harder it is to adjust. This compounded with the fact that when you take compensation into account, it's a big problem. It's no secret that big tech is the big boys in town when it comes to salaries. Outside of HFT trading firms, you're not really going to get the same level of compensation anywhere else. Sure, you can go work at a startup and get some stock that one day might be worth millions, but you can also then just go buy lottery tickets. Unless you're tactically joining some proven and successful private company right before IPO, then it's rarely worth it financially. Plus, taking over a 50% pay cut is not something most people are willing to do. So one gets caught in a double bind. Not only are you robbing yourself of learning opportunities, but due to the cushy paycheck, it's all but impossible to leave it all behind. Over the past 2 years, for example, I can't really think of what new things that I've learned. I've definitely gotten, incremental gains in the area of expertise that I excel at, but I can't really say I'm bumping those skills up too much. It's all just incremental improvements. And primarily, it's been focused on leveraging our internal tools and frameworks better as opposed to something that's transferable. And I really have no idea of all the cool things happening in the industries and what the best practices are and technologies outside of Meta. So with those two main grievances out in the open, let's now return to the original concept of this video, and that's the fork in the proverbial road. Before me, I see two paths. I can either continue with the status quo, be what amounts to a cog in the big tech machine, slowly chase promos, collect some big paychecks, and carry on until retirement or until AI takes my job. This is definitely the easy route, the comfortable route, the one that most people choose. It's simple, easy, relatively safe, and generally socially acceptable and expected. But there is another way, the pioneer way, the fuck what's easy way, the way of self-determination, entrepreneurship, the I'm not going to be 40 discussing what OKRs we need to plan for this half or what fucking t-shirt size this sprint task is, the do-it-yourself way. I've never been one to follow the rules or have much respect for them, and now as I think forward to what I want my life to be, the more I start to want something more. Do I want to do the same mundane corporate bullshit for the next decades of my life, or do I want something with more freedom, more ability to enjoy life at its fullest? It all sounds well and good speaking in the abstract, but what exactly do I have in mind, you might ask? My vision for the future is in one in which I can move away from working at big tech and pivot entirely to developing my own SaaS or phone applications. But what does that look like in practice, and how do I want to achieve this? There's a few key principles that need to be in place before this plan can come to fruition. The first is relative financial independence. I originally mentioned that I anticipated staying in my current role for another 5 years. This will give me the sufficient time to further accumulate more financial resources and investments to secure myself and my family for over a decade. The first major pillar of this is to have enough funds to purchase a home fully in cash and not have a debt liability on my balance sheet, which will cut into my monthly proceeds. Of course, there is the opportunity cost of capital associated with the gains that you can make with taking the money you could have invested if you only put down a down payment and had a mortgage instead. But personally, I don't subscribe to the notion of taking on debts, so for me, it's got to be fully cash. The second pillar is location independence. Part of the perks of no longer needing to be a corporate drone is that you can no longer need to commute to an office or live in a big, expensive city. Paired with the principle of owning my own home outright, being free to choose where I want to live and what makes the most sense to me without being tied down to what's close to an office is key. By some stroke of luck, due to my parents' heritage, I actually currently hold 3 citizenships to my name, which in turn opens a lot of doors in terms of where I have the option to live. I haven't decided on a final place yet, but having these options is a massive plus. The third and final and probably most important piece of the puzzle is of course the question of income. Obviously, unless I strike a gold mine and make some app that just blows up, the expectation that I'd ever be able to fully replace my current Meta income with my own business, that's just ridiculous, ludicrous, it's not going to happen. But of course, one still needs income to survive and pay for all of life's necessities. From my research of the potential locations I'd consider moving to, I'd need somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 US to be more than comfortable to live in and take care of my family. Remember that this is a scenario in which I've already purchased my own home, my own car, and all of these other things in cash, and I don't have monthly payments taking a cut from this number. An ideal number would be closer to 10,000, but of course, it's one step at a time. Now, I want to attack this on multiple fronts. The first of which is to slowly scale this YouTube channel over the coming years. Thanks to your current levels of support, the channel is now at almost 21,000 subscribers and growing. The growth will only be compounding, and one day I really hope to achieve that 100K subscriber mark. With the growth of the channel comes growth in the proceeds from ads revenue and sponsorships on the channel. If I do a linear extrapolation based on current earnings and project out the subscriber and revenue growth over, let's say, 4 to 5 years, then I'd actually easily hit my targets with this alone, which is just amazing. Thank you guys so much for your support and that you guys watch these videos. But of course, I don't just want to do YouTube. And it's not good to have all of your eggs in one basket. Your channel can get deleted, viewers can leave for other channels, or changes in the tech scene can render your content outdated or irrelevant. Plus, I'm a software engineer, not a video maker. I enjoy coding and not editing, as you can probably tell from the budget editing in my video. The dream goal is to build 2 to 3 micro SaaS or phone applications to cover the remaining financial target. If you've seen the YouTube channel, and I'm going to butcher this name, but Ivars Meyers, basically he's a guy in Lithuania, and what he's done is what I want to replicate. He has somewhere, I think, 3 to 4 iPhone store apps, which are making him around $5,000 per month, and he only needs to work for a maximum of 2 to 4 hours per day to maintain them and add new features. This really is the dream for me. Keep releasing small products to the market until a couple of them stick, and then focus all of my intention on making them the best that they can possibly be and growing the paying customer base. I think this is much more realistic and achievable than expecting to found some company that is the next unicorn tech startup. By keeping the application small and focused, you avoid having to maintain behemoth code bases with complex features, and you can focus on the core experience and features that customers actually want and are paying for. All of this ladders up into my goal vision for my life. To achieve any goal, you need to be able to visualize what success looks like, and for this, it's no different. I envision a life where I own my home outright, I make money making content online for YouTube, I build micro SaaS or app store applications for income, and only need to work a maximum of 4 hours a day maintaining my products. I want to free myself from the rat race, move away from big stressful cities and into the peace of the countryside, and be the master of my own time and be able to spend time with those that are most important to me instead of being chained to a desk attending planning meetings for bullshit corporate work I don't really give a shit about. Now, it's all well and good talking about the dreams, but how am I going to achieve them? Well, the first pillar was the YouTube pillar, and I plan on uploading content and giving the community more videos to grow my audience and reach. As I do that, I'll obviously get more ad revenue and hopefully start getting sponsorship offers from companies, which will in turn only increase the income I receive. The second part is, of course, beginning the process of learning how to build, deploy, and maintain my own micro SaaS or phone applications. I currently have some idea of the tools and services people are using these days, but there's still so much more I need to learn. From my day job, I have the skills required to build an app code-wise, but all of the DevOps, security, and site maintenance things I really have no clue about. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff in my day job at Meta, so for me it's all just a black box. But I'm going to learn it, there's no other way. Perhaps I can even stream the process of building something on the channel, if people would like to see that. In addition to web-based SaaS development, another area to explore is, of course, app development. At this stage, I don't really think it makes sense for me to bother learning both Swift and Kotlin. It really seems that I can just sit on the fence and learn React Native. Not only can I share the code base for both platforms, but I can also leverage the already strong JS coding skills I have and not have to start from scratch. I think there's definitely an argument to be made that it actually makes the most financial sense to only make iPhone applications, because even though there are a lot more Android users in the world, those with iPhones tend to statistically be better off financially and would be more willing and able to actually pay for apps or app-based subscriptions, thus increasing my funds. I have some ideas for some easy apps I could build, and even if they go nowhere financially, it's still going to be a good experience learning how the end-to-end flow of developing and releasing an app would actually be like. Remember that my timeline here is 5 years or so it will give me time and space to set the foundation properly in advance of transitioning fully to a world where I write my own destiny. Of course, it can always fail and not work out, but I should have sufficient guardrails and financial buffer to ensure that I'm covered in this scenario. Plus, I can always just get another big tech SWE job, might have to brush up on my leak code skills. Luckily, I've uploaded a lot of solution videos that I can reference. Well, there you go. That was definitely a ramble video and a half. My voice is quite coarse at this point. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to the end and hearing where my head is at. Does any of this resonate with you? Do you feel the same way? Do you think I'm an absolute nut job and you're now unsubscribing? Do you want more of these ramble videos in the future? Tell me in the comment section down below. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next video.